Hello, hello, hello. What's up, Forza Milan? It is the day after of the great sinkage of the ship. No, I'm joking. It is always a good day to say Forza Milan, no matter what the day, no matter whether we lose, whether we tie, whether we win. There's always Forza Milan, Forza Milan. Things I want to talk about today, guys, is the market. First of all, a few interesting things came up during the weekend regarding the renewals, which is something that is very important since we are in the stage of um, of renewing. Of renewing some of our best stars. What is up, Hilary Okoye? How you doing, my friend? How is it going? Yes, sir. So Bennacer seems to have agreed to renew. There was some interesting things came out on Twitter today from one of the Italian sources, and Leao responded to that on Twitter. Basically, a source was suggesting that Leao's father was asking some kind of money for the renewals, but Leao said that was all fake news. We'll look into that. Of course, we'll talk about the game yesterday. It's the next day. Maybe I can maybe talk about it with a little bit more clarity, and I want to hear what you guys got to say about it as well. And then there's a few players that I want to look at also that might be very interesting. One of them is RR, which has been linked with Milan a bunch of times. So I'm very curious to know. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm very curious to see if that can happen. Then there's a few more links on the Sempre Milan chat we'll look at. We're going to look at some Milan news. We're going to look at some RR highlights and see what he's all about. And we're going to go to the tactical board and talk about the situation with Milan. But first, let's start with Bennacer. Okay, so Bennacer, let's talk about Bennacer's situation. Ismail Bennacer has agreed to renew his contract with AC Milan, and the announcement could arrive very soon. In the Algerian's new contract, the 50 million release clause will remain as per the latest reports. So let's talk about the details. Here it goes. It's obviously a huge boost for RossonARI to lock down Bennacer until 2027. The agreement includes a salary of around 4 million per year, and the 50 million release clause will remain, which has sparked some debate on social media. Now, with a little bit more detail, the agreement includes a 4 million per year salary, but with bonuses. So basically, bonuses can take it up all the way to let's say 4.5, which is essentially what it seems he was asking for. So it looks like they got it. They've been able to get to that agreement. Now, the 50 million release clause. So, as highlighted by Pietro Mazzarra, it isn't as bad as it sounds given four key conditions. It's only valid for foreign clubs. It won't be valid in the summer of 2023. It must be paid in one installment and four. One installment and four? What does that mean? It would only be valid in the first 15 days of July. With that said, although 50 million is still a decent deal for a player like Bennacer, it takes a bit more convincing for whoever's interested in signing him. At the very least, Milan won't be walking away with zero in the event of a sale. Okay, so my opinion on this 15 million release clause, I'm going to say right from the gate, I think it's a steal. For anybody that wants to buy Bennacer in not this summer, but the next summer, if they really want to activate the release clause, 50 million in today's market, especially for the foreign clubs, for the English clubs, that's easy money. Easy money. That's what they use in the morning to wipe their nose, essentially. So I'm not a big fan of that release clause, but I think it is safe to say that at that point, of course, the player has a choice. The player can decide whether he wants to go to another club or stay at Milan. But in 2 years, this project will be quite different from today. So obviously, the hope, the projection, the trajectory is that the club will be competing for top spot in Europe. In 2 years, yes, in 2 years for sure, Milan will be competing for the top spots, especially since it looks like they're keeping their players, and this core is going to stay with the team for the next 2 years. That's what it's looking like. So, I am hanging on to the idea that if Bennacer likes to stay at Milan and he finds himself at home at Milan, he'll probably decide to stay. Obviously, it depends on what kind of contract he will be offered. But anyway, good news is that we don't need to think about this for 2 more seasons. The rest of this season, and then in the summer, we don't need to worry about Bennacer. It'll be a very relaxing summer without thinking, oh my God, they're going to come and get Bennacer. Of course, they can still get Bennacer. If they want to buy Bennacer sooner, of course, whoever gets him is going to have to pay a lot more money. But we don't need to think about it. So that's a good thing. And I'm very happy that Bennacer is renewing. I'm happy that Bennacer did not take the Kessie route. I'm happy that Milan took care of this 2 years before the end of his contract. Like, this is a really good thing, right? So we're starting to see Milan. It's a slow process. It's like watching paint dry, essentially. But it is what it is. That's just the way things are. It is a slow process, but we are starting to see Milan being able to renew the contracts of these players, because there is a belief in continuity. There is a strong belief that this project is going to succeed, and there is a strong belief that as long as Maldini is the head of all of this, the project is going to go in the right direction. So yeah, these are definitely the positive signs, and the fact that there are positive signs regarding the Leao contract. It looks like it's going in that direction right now. It looks that it's strongly going into that direction. It looks like, to me, it looks like Leao is considering and taking at heart the suggestions of the people around him that really care about him, that are telling him, look, this is the best thing you can do, is to stay at Milan. Because first of all, Milan is going to be competing for top spots in Europe, and that's going to happen sooner than people want to believe. But second of all, because now it is time for him to take a team on his shoulders, and he's got to do it. Now is the time for him to do it. Obviously, if he goes at another club, that's not going to happen. He has to adapt to the other club. He has to adapt to the locker room. He has to adapt to the style of football. He has to compete for spots against people that are already familiar with that league. So before he can go in a team like that and just compete at the highest levels right away, it will definitely take time, and maybe it can even be a complete flop if he goes to another club. And we've seen that happen with players. Players will go to another club thinking it's going to be perfect for them, but it becomes completely different. And actually, we've seen this a lot with Milan, because obviously Milan is a very special club. It is a club with a huge pedigree. It is a club that internally is considered as one of the greatest clubs ever. It is the second most prestigious club as far as European trophies, and it is especially after the work Berlusconi did. So going to other clubs is different. It's a different atmosphere. When you go to a Man City, you're not going to a prestigious club. You're going to a rich club, a club that is rich, that is trying to become prestigious through its money, essentially. But with Milan, it's more a thing of tradition, heritage, etc., etc. So obviously, the relationship that he has with the team, with the football, is different. And in Italy, when you're a player that is playing really well, you get the special treatment. And Leao is definitely getting the special treatment. So it is the right thing for him to stay in Italy for a few more years and then see whether or not he's ready to go, or see where the club is in a few more years and decide whether or not that is the right place for him to stay at Milan, which it could be, which it definitely could be, because again, I mean, we have to see that. I mean, if you look at the projection of a team, it is it's going to be just a matter of 1 or 2 years before we are top dogs in Europe again. And when I say top dogs, I don't mean that we're going to win the Champions League. We might win the Champions League, who knows? But we're going to be competing in the Champions League. Remember, guys, let's not get fooled about the Champions League, all right? Like the teams that play in the Champions League are good, but it's not like they are these unsurmountable mountains that are impossible to beat. It's a mental thing. It's a mental thing, and obviously, one thing that Milan has never had an issue is with these mental things. So as soon as Milan, the more these players, our young players, compete in the Champions League, the more they will get acclimated to it. This is human nature. This is how human nature works. The more you compete in the Serie A, the more you get acclimated to the Serie A. The more you compete in the Champions League, the more you get acclimated to the Champions League. Um, so this year being the second year that this current squad competes in the Champions League, I gotta say was quite positive. Of course, aside the Chelsea situation and the stigma that is growing, which we are struggling against English teams. Okay, first of all, everybody is going to struggle against English teams because English teams are very rich. English teams are not really bringing out doing anything special. They're just spending a lot of money and they're getting the best coaches in the world, and those coaches bring their football to England. And but we know what kind of football Guardiola plays, and we've seen Guardiola lose almost every year in Europe. You know, coaches don't win every single year in Europe. It's always a new coach. Sometimes you will have a coach that will win once or twice. Zidane is an outlier that won 3 times in a year. But the more you play against these teams, you get used to it. You just get used to it. And I'm sure that the game against Tottenham, which is going to be quite important, is going to be one of these moments where the team, the club, etc., is going to gain a lot of experience from that game, and they're going to gain a lot of positive things that is going to give this team a more assurance. So, you know, as long as and then there's the Giroud situation. Giroud also seems like they're going to renew Giroud. I think it's a good idea to renew Giroud. Obviously, you know, we have to talk about the market next year. Obviously, Ibra. I mean, hasn't been in the team right now, but he should be in the team coming up soon in the second half of the season. But obviously, next year we have to get another striker, and then bring up one of the Primavera, Colombo. Colombo is 100% ready to come and be the young striker of the team. I mean, he's 100% ready to do that and make his way up slowly by slowly, you know, year by year. Maybe we can send Colombo for another season, but Colombo is scoring some crazy ass goals, and technically he's very special. So Colombo can definitely be that young striker that the team brings in. Yeah, so these are very positive things. Now, one of the things that I do kind of start to worry about is Diaz, because Diaz right now, the clock has to have ticked. I mean, that's it. So when I coached adults, I had, for example, one of the teams I was coaching, I had players that came to me while they were 20, 21, and also players that I've seen grow from 18 onwards. I mean, the players that stayed 4 years with me, like the difference the growth that you see, that you witness every day, physiologically, meaning physically, and basically the ability, the just getting better at football, understanding the nuances of football. This is the thing. Like when you're young, first of all, most players don't have the physique of older players, right? But you don't have in your mind the nuances of football. Because football is full of nuances. While you're playing the game, it's not everything is not so cut and dry. There's nuances. There's a lot of puzzles that you need to figure out right on the spot. And you see, like I saw with many players, that in the space of 3-4 years, like one player will just completely be a new player. And also, the most important thing that you notice is the confidence. The more a player plays, the more he learns, the more he produces, they get confidence. Diaz has reached a point now where he is not going to have any more issues regarding adapting against who he plays. He's gotten to a point where now he can use his qualities fairly, I don't want to say easily, but definitely with more efficiency. I mean, he's 23. We've seen him grow. This has to be it. Like, it's now. It has to be now. Um, if it's not now, then I don't know. I would think it would be very strange, but it has to be now. So Diaz, I'm expecting Diaz to play a really high level from now to the end of the season. I'm expecting him to be one of our best players. I'm expecting him to be almost like a new signing, essentially. And I don't know what this is going to mean for the summer market, because Real Madrid is going to get in. Essentially, if Diaz start playing the way I think he's going to play, I have a I'm worried that Madrid is going to look at him and going to say, okay, this guy's a player that we can actually use. And Real Madrid is paying him a good, decent amount of money. They have essentially parked him at Milan so he can grow. It will really be up to where Real Madrid is at that time, and it will really be up to where we are at that time. So I wonder what will happen towards the end of the season regarding Diaz. If I can't make any predictions because I really don't know. I really don't know what is going to happen. I do know that he's going to be very good for us from now till the end of the season. And I do know that all the people, literally all of them that were talking so much shit about Diaz, like Jamal, you are going to definitely change your tune. So that is definitely something that I am expecting. Let's see. We are so wearing shit. We are going to lose against fucking Spurs. No, that's not gonna happen. That's obviously not gonna happen. Milan for life. What believe we have bought? What? No, well, it's too pissed off. What's up, Ernesto? How you doing? DS is used. Now you're gonna start changing your tune about that. Please, Real, we insist on them taking DS. Yeah, that's you are going to see a big difference in Diaz, and it is a very normal thing. It is a very normal thing. Essentially, you're going to see to Diaz what happened with Leao. It's going to be the same thing. What happened to Leao? What happened with Tonali? Tonali, I gotta say, it happened much faster than uh, most individuals. Tonali is a way. I mean, he was already playing at the Serie B at a pretty Serie in the Serie A, but he was playing in a team that got relegated. Essentially, got relegated that season. But Tonali adapted to the team really fast, quite faster than the usual. Okay, one other thing I want to talk about is Calabria. Calabria had a post-match interview. So first thing, what I like is the messaging. Calabria has a post-match interview. It's him. Milan has a shocking let's call it defeat. It was a defeat yesterday, right? Let's not beat around the bushes. You're winning 2-0, and you lose. You essentially lose the game by letting them tie 2-2. That is a defeat. That's you losing 2 points, not gaining not gaining 1 point, or not maintaining 1 point, but that is losing 2 points. So it was a defeat. And what I liked that the player that came out and spoke to the media was the captain, was Calabria, because usually it's not Calabria, usually it's someone else. But when the team when the team wins, usually it's someone else. I never see Calabria. But the team yesterday lost, shocking defeat, and the person on the microphones is the captain of the team. So that already tells me that this is a healthy team. So that is a very good sign. And what he says. Of course, English viewers are not going to be able to really understand it. Like I've noticed that I noticed that the English translations are just crap. Like English does not do a good job at really transmitting what people say in Italian. And it's probably vice versa too. But anyway, what I did like about him was the words he was saying, and he really put the responsibility on his shoulders, on the team, and his demeanor is what was important. Not necessarily what he was saying, but also what he was saying. Everything was correct. He's saying that losing a game like this, getting scored twice on in the last 5 minutes after we're dominating the whole game, was stupid. He said that word. It was stupid. And he said, they all spoke in their locker room that this must never happen again. So, Calabria, the way he spoke, he gave me the idea, okay, this guy is a leader. This guy has the qualities of being a captain. So I saw a captain yesterday speak to the microphones. I did not see a child. I did not see a player that is a shy. I saw a confident captain talk to the microphones. So I really like that. That's very good. Negatives from yesterday. I think Pioli yesterday spoke about a moment in which we lost the game, essentially, and he spoke about the first corner that was conceded. He spoke about there was a moment there that we did not manage that situation well, and we conceded a corner. We should have not conceded a corner there. So, he did not really specify the action or the person, the player, but he did say it in he wasn't saying it in plural. He was suggesting someone made a mistake. Someone made a mistake. I don't like that. I don't think you should do that because then that puts too much pressure on a player that is maybe perceived to have been that person. It could have been this guy, could have been that guy. We don't know who he was talking about, but anybody that is listening, especially in Italy, right, listens to that, and it's easy to understand. He could have been talking about any players there. So I don't like that kind of messaging from a coach. I think a coach should be a little bit more always the team, not so much point the fingers at someone. But it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad of a situation. I think Pioli is going to figure it out. He's going to figure it out. And to be honest with you, if you really look at this game, yes, Pioli you can say he made some mistakes with the subs. You can say that some players did not manage situations well, especially in the dying moments of the game where the management of the game needs to change, needs to shift. And this is something actually that Calabria spoke about. He said that, we needed to slow down the game at the end, and that is correct. At the end, when there's only 5-7 minutes left and you want to take it home, essentially, that's where you really stop playing football. Rather, you shift the game towards a risk mitigation, and slowing down everything and letting the clock pass, because there's no hurry to score goals at that point. There's no hurry to do anything. As long as you let the goal in the last minutes of the game, especially when you already know what the stoppage time is and you're entering that stage of the game, you know that at that point it's about keeping the score. It's about keeping the score and taking the game home. That's where you have to kind of change and shift your mentality towards bringing the game home. So today, Hans and I were speaking about a situation with Tatarusano, for example. We can look about that. Maybe Tatarusano made a mistake, and there was a situation where he collected the ball in the box, and pretty much all of Roma was still in our own half, and we were all in our own half. Everybody pretty much close to the in the box because it was a Roma attack. And Tatarusano, instead of just shielding the ball, lying down on the ball, and just letting the clock by and telling his team, okay, let's go up. We're going to, slow everything down. I'm going to kick the ball up and punt it up. Instead, he got up and he gave the ball right away to one of the midfielders, and then that action basically led to Roma winning the ball back in our own half, and then subsequent actions led to that corner. So, you can say, right? You can say that is a kind of situation where you want the goalkeeper to slow everything down and to calm everything down. Everything needs to calm down, slow down, chill out, calm, and let's put the ball on the other side and let's deal with the ball on the other side. So maybe that is a situation that Tatarusano definitely, actually maybe that is a situation where Tatarusano should have managed better. So I don't know if Pioli was talking about that, or I have to assume he was talking about that, but he could have been talking about either Teo Hernandez in that scenario and either Tomori, who was the player that went to defend against the Roma player and then the ball went into a corner. But I don't think he was talking about that. I think he was talking about the management of the action that preceded that. So that is definitely something that is to be considered. A goalkeeper like Magnan, for example, wouldn't do that, right? He would manage the game in a different way. Buffon would manage the game in a different way. Actually, one of the mistakes that Donnarumma used to do was do that, not manage the last minutes, the final minutes of the game properly. That was a mistake that he used to do. Now, it is strange because it is such a pretty basic thing. I find it strange that there are professional players that don't think about that during the game. I find it very strange because it's such a basic, simple mathematical equation. I mean, even children do this. Like even children have that idea of saying, okay, we're about to end the game. Let's kind of let's manage this game a little bit differently now. It's strange that there are professional players I've seen in many occasions, not just Milan players, players of other teams too, that just don't shift towards that. So, speaking about the subs, no, I'm not going to call out Tomori. I think Tomori is actually doing. What's the issue with Tomori? What's the particular issue with Tomori, Lab Girl? I do think that one thing I mentioned during the game, and the reason why I mentioned this was because I know what it's like when you have a team and you have many players missing. You are kind of forced to, because when you prepare a game, when you prepare a football game, you're not just putting 11 players in the pitch. It's not just the 11 players. You have all these other players on the bench that you're thinking about as well. So, and those players on the bench determine how you plan and prepare your game, depending on the scenario. Like I've been in that. That's the normal life of a coach. That's how it is. So, when the game was starting and we were going through that lineup, yeah, the lineup looked fantastic. The first 11 looked absolutely fantastic, but then you went in the bench. And guys, we had 10 players, 9 or 10 players out. I mean, the fact that we have Magic Mike out is very, very, very. It's a bummer. It's just a bummer. Kjaer, if, like, for example, I want to go to a defensive 3 and I put Kjaer in there because essentially that's what Pioli has been doing, right? Usually when he wants to close up games, he goes to the defensive three. But it's been Kjaer that goes there, or it's been Kalulu in the past. So you're bringing in players that are essentially first team players on the bench. You have bench players that are essentially first team players as well. Um, but the biggest issue that I saw there was that there's no offensive options. So Pioli had no choice but to, if he chose to do subs, to set up a very defensive setup in the long stretch, because you have to think of games in essentially three phases. The first half is one phase, right? The first half belongs to the first team. The second half the first half of the second half belongs to the first team, and then once you hit the first half of the second half, that's when you want to start to make some changes. Most of the time, it's good that you have that ability, but in this case, Pioli just did not have the ability to keep an offensive shape. He could have decided to not make any substitutions till the end. And this is something that Allegri does, actually. Allegri used to do, he hasn't been doing this lately, but used to actually pretty much keep the same team on till the end, making a few subs till the end, because his idea was, if a team is playing well, why change it? Why change it? Allegri used to do this. I think if you have the right options on the bench, you don't necessarily need to change the way you play, because you can just substitute player for player. But this was the issue. Pioli did not have those players. Pioli did not have Messias. Pioli still doesn't have Ibra. Pioli did not have Origi. Pioli did not have Rebic. That is our front line. That those players are all, especially the three. Let's take Ibra out of the picture. Let's just get Rebic, Messias, and Origi. Those three players are the attacking players of AC Milan. They are the bench, or they can even be elements of the first team. When you don't have that, and your option there is Lazetic, this teenager that is still working with the Primavera, that is your only option. Obviously, you cannot change this game you cannot keep the game the same. You can't if you make subs. The subs that he had were subs. Well, actually, let's look at the subs that he had. But the subs that he put in Gabbia for Salamakers. Gabbia for Salamakers. He could have put in Chow for Salamakers. One of the ideas was, well, you put Chow there. Chow is taller, and he is better at, well, he's known for being good with the set pieces, etc. Now, of course, I think it's very difficult to make that decision when you have a Gabbia in there, and Gabbia is just more advanced. It is like, if you're the coach of a team, you know what the hierarchies are. And he did put in more centimeters. This is something Pioli said. He said he did put more centimeters, but he put Gabbia in there for Salamakers. And another thing is this, that before I go on into this analysis, hindsight, everybody is a fucking genius, okay? Everybody's a fucking genius in hindsight. We're all geniuses in hindsight. Pioli could have made those decisions, and we would have, if, let's say, some of the players would have managed the situation better, right? Then we wouldn't be talking about this. Of course, in hindsight, everything is difficult. I remember one time I was coaching a team. It was a youth 12 team. It wasn't my roster wasn't exceptionally good at that time. In the academy I was working for, it wasn't the U12 team. Was it was a team that was probably the talent of the team was probably mid table. Was like a mid table team. If you want to talk about it in Serie A relativity, it's like a Bologna kind of team, and then you have all the other teams. And I remember like the parents of the players. When we played against the really good teams, they would get angry because of the tactics, and they wanted certain players to play in a certain way, and they wanted certain players to play, in different positions. The things like I worked with those players, multiple times a week. We were doing 3 trainings a week, so I know what those players can do, and it is easier on the outside to think which player is better and what they can do. But when you're in the inside, when you're actually coaching and when you're seeing the players, obviously as a coach, you understand these players better. So I understand why he put Gabbia instead of Chow. Obviously, I think most coaches would do that. Most coaches that train with the team. Again, in hindsight, everybody sounds perfect. Everybody is perfect in hindsight. Nobody makes any mistakes in hindsight. But in hindsight, what I would have done is not taken out Salamakers. I would have kept Salamakers in that game till the end. I think Salamakers is a player that you start that player and you cannot take him out till the end unless you substitute him unless you have options on the left. But I would not take Salamakers out because Salamakers is your Gattuso, right? Like Gattuso, if you take out Gattuso, you lose a lot of that grinta, you lose a lot of that run, you lose the running and that fighting spirit. That fighting spirit is something that you can't. If some players have it and they're really good at it, that's one of the most important things you want in a football team, like that fighting spirit. Like the reason why these players succeed so well is because coaches fall in love with these players. When a coach sees a player that is fighting for the team, is running and is working his ass off for the team, yeah, that player is working his ass off for you, for the coach. Obviously, coaches appreciate that. Now, in hindsight, I wouldn't take out Salamakers, but again, anybody that is here saying that they would have done this, they would have done that, and if they were on that bench, they would have won the game, is lying to themselves. They're lying to themselves. Because that situation Pioli had with all those injuries is not simple. It's not simple. Another thing that Pioli did, which I think was a little bit strange, I do not want to, let me go to a tactical board, was the build-up. So Pioli started with 3 at the back, in the build-up. And so he had 3. Then he had 4. Is it 3? No, 5. Then he had 5 in the middle line. Then he had 1. Yeah. So essentially, when Milan builds up, this is what it looks like. This is what it looked like in the first half. You had the Calabria that started down here. You had the Kalulu and Tomori. And then you had the Regista, Bennacer. Tonali would peel up into the midfield, into the upper midfield line. Then Diaz was ready in the right side upper midfield line. And Theo Hernandez would come all the way into the... He would come up all the way on the left wing. And then, of course, you have the Leao, which is plays more between the lines, between the offensive line and the midfield line. And then over here, so essentially this is what it kind of was. It kind of was this. You have 3, 1, 4, Theo, the midfielders, Tonali, Diaz, Salamakers. Then you have Leao that kind of peels off in this area. And then you have Giroud that is on the last line. So this works really well, because the extra man that is coming up here with Theo Hernandez just gives you more options and gives you more overlapping options, meaning you can open up the game even more. Diaz being an overlapping player with Salamakers. We saw Tonali doing the overlaps as well. Basically, all of these overlaps allow you to open up teams a little bit more. And then you had Calabria come up for the final overlap. So essentially, that is how Milan attacks. They start with the three, and then basically to end it with just two at the back, and then everybody else, in this kind of position, doing whatever they do. Now, this was what Milan did in the first half. We scored the goal, and then the second half we changed that situation. So basically, we built with four at the back, 4-1. 4-1. Essentially, that's what we did in the second half. So, and also, this caused the team to be less intense. Why? Why does the team become less intense? Why? Because you do not have the overlaps that open up space. When you have space, you attack space. You attack space with intensity. When you don't have space, then you just manage the game until you find space. But if you don't have overlapping players, you can't create that space that you can attack. So playing with that four-man in the back, Bennacer, like this, obviously, the game slows down a little bit. The game slows down. It's not as offensive. This is not an offensive shape. This is a balanced shape. And Pioli decided to go to this shape to be a little bit more conservative. Obviously, at that point, Roma has to score, and he was probably thinking, to have Theo Hernandez help the defense more rather than go up top. That is a question that you can ask yourself, well, was this the right choice or not? Was this the right choice to go in this direction? I've never seen him do this before. This is the first time I've seen him change to this tactic. I've seen him use this tactic before. He uses this tactic when Balotelli plays, actually. When Balotelli plays, this is the tactic that we use. But when usually with Theo Hernandez, because of Theo Hernandez's qualities, you can use him essentially as a left midfielder, left winger. So you can ask yourself, was this the right decision to make? I don't know, because it worked. It worked up until the 88th minute. Maybe you can argue, of course, always in hindsight, that he should have just kept on attacking with the same tactic. Three at the back, essentially do the same thing that he was doing in the first half for the next 20 minutes, for still another 20 minutes. Now, what brought him to make this decision? Why I think he made this decision? Well, it's going back to the bench. Going back to the bench. So you don't have Rebic. You do not have Origi. You don't have Origi. You don't have Rebic. You don't have Messias. Right? You only have Lazetic right there, the young kid. And you do have CDK. Let's make CDK orange. So CDK can be an interesting option. So that's the only option you have offensively. These are the only two options you have offensively that you can come in and change the game offensively. Then in the midfield, well, you do have Adli there. But Adli is kind of the same conversation as Lazetic. And that's something that we can discuss later. You do have Gabbia. So the orange players are the players that can give you something. You do have Dest. I'm going to consider Dest orange over here. And you had Chow. Chow, I consider a youngster. Not as ripe as Adli, as Lazetic, but in the same discussion as Adli. And that was it. There was no Krunic. Oh, yeah, you have Pobega. Pobega, at this point, we can consider him a red player. Right, Pobega is a red player. You do not have Krunic. You do not have Kjaer. You do not have okay, fine. You do not have Ibra, but we already knew that. So this is Pobega. So Rebic, Origi, Messias, Krunic, Kjaer, Florenzi, and of course you don't have your main goalkeeper. You have your second goalkeeper. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's a few more missing. Okay, you don't have Balotelli. You don't have Balotelli also. Let's put him here. You do not have... Who else was missing? Rebic, Origi, Messias, Ibra, Balotelli, Florenzi, Kjaer, Magnan, and Krunic. So, Magnan, Kjaer, Florenzi, Krunic, Messias, Rebic, Origi, Ibra, and Messias, and one more. Okay. So these are all the players that he did not have. All of these players. Let's say red players are players that are first team players. Players that are ready today to play in the first team and be effective on the first team. Is CDK that player just yet? I don't think so. Oh, of course, he had ranks too. Yeah. So let's say the orange players are the players that are closer to being ready. The green players are the players that are still very ripe, nowhere near to be ready. The blue players are the players that are just the blue players are the players that are just between green and orange. So essentially, he only had one red player, one ready player to put on the pitch, and this is a big problem. This makes it very difficult because now the choices that you make are very difficult. Maybe you can consider Dest a red player, but if not, he's very close to being. Let's put Dest actually as maroon, and maroon, or let's put him. Yeah, it's fine. Let's just keep him orange. It's okay. So, if I start the second half with this idea, I have 4 defenders, one player right here, my pivot player, which has been Bennacer, Tonali and Diaz running the show in the attacking midfield. Salamakers on this wing, Leao on this wing, a little bit more conservative Leao, and Giroud up top. Now this is working. This is working. Of course, the defense wouldn't stay like this if the ball was moved towards the final third. Calabria and Theo Hernandez would come in. So let's see what Pioli did. So Pioli, at a certain point, what he does, he takes out Diaz. He puts in Pobega. Now this here, we're thinking, okay, well, Diaz was playing really well. What would Pobega do? Pobega actually does really well and scores a goal. It looked like the game was wrapped by then. So now all your players left are all of these guys. So what to do if I'm a coach? What to do if I'm a coach? Okay, so obviously Lazetic, I don't even consider him. It's too ripe for the occasion. Ali, I guess I just haven't given him enough minutes. And if I do use Ali, I'm going to use him in the attacking third space. So Pioli doesn't believe Ali is ready to do that in a big game. And Chiao, the most inexperienced of the defenders so far in the team. So he is there. He is in this category. So essentially, Pioli had Branks. He had Dest. he had CDK and Gabbia. Okay, so he takes out Salamakers. Salamakers out of the game. He puts in Gabbia there. And right now, this becomes Pobega, Bennacer, Tonali, Leao, Giroud. So it essentially becomes a 5-3-1. He takes out Bennacer, puts in Vranks. So we have Pobega, Vranks, Gabbia. He takes out Giroud, puts in CDK right there. And those are all the changes. So CDK up top as the false 9. CDK actually more in this area as a false 9. Vranks in the middle for Bennacer. Gabbia right there in the middle between Tomori and Kalulu. I mean, obviously, the team loses quality, but this is the thing. Like, if you decide to make changes, I mean, the thing is, like, you make changes because you see that your players maybe are starting to lose their fatigue or getting fatigued, etc. Obviously, Diaz was still early, so he could have kept on Diaz longer. What other options could he have done? What other options did he have? So let's just. So he only has these players available to him. He only has these players available to him. Let's say he goes to a 4-3-3. Let me give names to these players. One second. Calabria. Blue. Mori. Leao. Yes. Diaz. This guy here. Who's this guy? Diaz, Bennacer, Salamakers. Okay. Okay, Pobega. These are the subs that he used. These are the subs that were available to him. Pobega. Gabbia. Ranks. Dest. And who's the other guy? CDK. Okay. So these players here, that's Lazetic. We don't even consider these players here. We're not ready yet. We're not ready yet in Pioli's chessboard, essentially. We're not ready yet. These are all the first team players. So red means first team, means that you're ready today to play in the first team. Green means that you're ripe, means that you're a teenager, that you're considered still like primavera. Blue means that you are in between that stage, so you're pretty much where Maldini was last season. And that is where Ali is being considered, and that is where Chow is being considered. A lot. We're talking about the age hierarchies and the experience hierarchy. Then you have Pobega, which is a red player. He's already played in the Serie A with a fairly decent amount of success so far. So he has to be considered a red player. Then you have CDK, 21, new player to the Serie A. Gabbia. Gabbia probably should be considered a red player by now, but he's not a red player yet. Maybe you can consider him a red player. Maybe he should be a red player. Maybe he should be a player. Let's keep him. Let's keep him orange for now. Vranks should be considered actually according to his age here, but in Pioli's mind, Vranks is there. Vranks is one of the orange players, and so is Dest. Basically, young players that are showing promise, young players that are showing good things that he can use. So let's see. Let's see. If I am Pioli and I'm going to this situation right here, where he attacks this way, let's say he wants to change. Okay. I wouldn't have changed Diaz. I would have kept Diaz till the end. The first thing I would have done was take out Giroud and put CDK there. That's the first thing I would have done. The reason why I would have done that is because if this is the tactic that I'm using, of course you need, since it is a tactic that is not inertia driven forward, having Giroud actually would be better because Giroud is the player that pushes the team forward with depth. But let's say, okay, now at this point we're at the 65th minute, 70th minute, 65th minute, and you want to start to go a little bit more defensive. Maybe start a little bit more defensive from the top. So a CDK here. Then I will go Diaz for Pobega. And Bennacer gets a yellow card. If he gets another yellow card, it's a red card. Tonali was on a yellow card. He misses the match. So taking out Bennacer was probably the right idea. So then you put Vranks in there. And that's how I would have kept it. And maybe in the very end, in the stoppage time, taking out Leao or Tonali or Salamakers, but probably Leao. I would have taken out Leao for Gabbia in the last 3 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. Because at that point, obviously, Roma is putting all their players in our half. Roma is playing it here. They're all pushing forward, obviously, because they want to get a goal. So you just put all the bodies there, and you don't worry about. Yeah, maybe that's how I would have done it. In hindsight, though, everything is everything is whatever. Everything is right. You never know. You never know. But that's what I would have done with this situation. Now, obviously, if we had our regular team, it'd be completely different. It would have been completely different. We would have won this game really easily. We would have won this game with zest. We would have won this game with energy, with electricity. We would have won this game with some really good football. It would have been a very, very good, result for us. But of course, that goes to speak, with the injury situation. I mean, if we can figure out that situation, we're gold. We're gold. Because, if this is the team, right, and you have Kjaer, right, you want to put in Kjaer. You put Kjaer there. If you take Salamakers out and you put Kjaer in, you're not losing much. Actually, you're probably gaining as far as personality on the field. So that's That's the thing. If you want to take Giroud out and put Origi there, you still have muscle, you still have experience. If you want to put Rebic and Origi, right? You take out Rebic, you take out Leao, and you still have an offensive team. You can put Krunic there for defense. You have Florenzi, you have Mike Magnan. So right now, guys, it's the injuries. We're fucked with the injuries. The injuries are fucking us up. Um, I can't blame Pioli so much on his tactical decisions yesterday. I guess we really have to look at what's going on with the injuries. We got to look what's going on with the injuries. Yeah, Kjaer though was not available. Kjaer was not available. I thought, thank you, bro. Thank you. Last 10 minutes of game put in defensive subs. Now, the thing is, like, the thing about Milan, though, the issue, the really key issue that we have to consider here is this. That this has not been I mean, yeah, it has been Pioli's, way of doing things when he wants to manage the game. But his bench is bigger. But the other thing that Pioli usually does is this. And this is where the key of the game is. And it comes right here. It's going to come right here. Second half. If I have my bench, if I have all my red players here, like this, I'm not going to start the second half with this tactic, with the 4-1-4 tactic. I'm going to start the second half with the same tactic. I'm going to start as the first half, which is basically the 3-1-5-1. That's how I'm going to start the second half. Because I can still maintain with the red players that I have here, I can still maintain the integrity of the team until the 70th minute, and then you can start to change it, and then you can start to change it up a little bit. But I think the reason why he went to a 4-1-4-1 in the second half is because he didn't have these guys here. He didn't have these red players here. So he only had these guys here, and he had to think about how to change the game based on these guys here. Yeah. Napoli will lose against Juve. Napoli was the worst team when they played against us, even though we lost. Inter has a better team, and they lost. Two of their biggest challenges and was worse. My feeling with Napoli is that if you want to beat Napoli, you have to attack them, and you have to be aggressive with them. And those are the two key things. Like when you play against teams that are very good at holding the ball, you have two options. Either you defend like crazy, and you put 10 players behind the line and hope to score a goal on the counterattack, or you're aggressive against them and you attack and you're with aggression. I think against Napoli, if you want to beat Napoli, you have to do what Inter did, which is attack them aggressively and be very rough, hard fouls. Like you saw the fouls they were committing on Vicha. They're like some of those fouls should have even been red cards, maybe. So you have to be aggressive. You have to have a ref on your side a little bit with the fouls. You have to be lucky that you don't get yellow cards. And then you have to attack with a lot of confidence. Now, Juventus does not play that way. Juventus decides to put 10 players behind the line of the ball. I don't think that's going to work against Napoli. I think this suits Napoli because Napoli wants to hold the ball. Napoli does not want to waste any energy trying to get the ball to defense to the midfield to attack. And Napoli wants to go to your goal by holding the ball. So if you're going to give them the defense and if you're going to give them the attack, meaning your attacking line is not going to press them, your midfield line is going to retreat. Essentially, you're giving all the field to Napoli. And you have to be an exceptionally good defense to stop them. But in 90 minutes, the thing that, again, remember what I said earlier, when coaches prepare games, they're not just looking at the 11 players that they're putting on the pitch. It never works like that. It never, ever works like, no matter what, no matter how, if you're amateur, if you're pro, even if you are doing it for fun on in the Sunday park, uh, you have to look at your bench and you have to look at the long stretch. Napoli on the long stretch beats everybody in Italy. Everybody in Italy. In the long stretch, especially if you're going to defend against them, in the long stretch, you're fucked because they're going to bring in just as much quality, maybe even better quality if they want. And and Juventus cannot do that. The more players come in for Juve, their game deteriorates. We've seen how Juve in these past games has been playing better when the starting 11 start, but as soon as the subs start coming in, then everything deteriorates. Everything just deteriorates, and the one thing that Napoli has above all the other teams in Italy is this ability to not deteriorate their game. The game stays consistent, and that is a huge thing. That's because they have a lot of depth. They have a lot of depth on the bench. Essentially, you see how we have these red players up top, but we have a green player, we have two blue players, and we have a lot of orange players. They pretty much have, let's say, almost all of these are red. Almost all of these are red. And they're all healthy. So that is the thing that I think Napoli will beat Juve because of that reason. I think this defensive complete. If you go too defensive against Napoli, that's not going to work because you're going to be doing exactly what they want. Now, one thing though, that the Napoli's defense is not incredible. I mean, it is good. It is doing pretty good, but it's not unbeatable. So if Juve can hit him on the counterattack and score some early goals, well, nothing will change. Even if Juve scores early in the game, the whole game will still be the whole game will still belong to Napoli. So Napoli will still have the ball and still attack. Right now, you are no team in Italy aside from Milan and Inter is capable of displacing Napoli's game. No team in Italy. We are capable of doing it, and Inter is capable of doing it. A team like Juve that pretty much loses the ball to teams like Sampdoria, to teams like Cremonese, to teams like Salernitana. There's zero chance in hell that they're going to have any success in keeping the ball against Napoli. Zero chance. And also, this is what Allegri wants, so whatever. Maybe steal those Jose Mourinho games, park the bus the last 10 minutes of the game, counterattack. Yeah, I'm going to discuss that in a second, actually, RD Chico. I think we're the best team in Italy. Injuries is fucking as big time, though. We had good performance against Salernitana and Roma. No, honestly, if we didn't have the injury situation, I think we'd be fine. I think we'd be totally fine. I mean, by the way we were playing yesterday, told us that right now we are not like we don't play as pretty as Napoli, but we play as dominantly. We are as dominant as them, and also we've seen that we are dominant against them too. So right now, if our team is full, if we have a full squad, I think we are. If we are maybe the best team or the second best team, one of the two. Yeah. So yeah, if this game we had Rebic, Origi, Messias, Krunic, Kjaer, even Balotore, Magnan, etc. We would have Florenzi. We would have won this game nicely too. That's what really kind of stings. We would have like beaten this team like 4-5-0. Like it would have been a bad defeat because we were really playing really well. Do we need better physio? We're struggling with injuries. Do you think it's just bad luck? Um, I don't know. So my experience with football players is that I had I can look at a few players that I had back in my when I was coaching adults. I had one player that was an exceptional footballer, midfielder, and he had muscle injuries that were reoccurring. So every few months, I had to deal with that. Like he would sprain his muscles, or I've had, but most of the injuries that I had in the teams that I coached were based on just casualties. So like a guy like in the corner, he jumps and someone pushes him and he lands bad on his ankle or stuff like that. A lot of injuries happened usually before the season started during the preparation, so you can also look at that. Thing is, like, if you're not there to see exactly what they're doing, like, how can you tell? You can only guess. You can only guess. If I were to take a guess, in my opinion, the issue is not the preparation, and it is not it's not the athletic part. It is the recovery. I think they're making mistakes in the recovery area because recovery is also part of is also technique. It is also a skill how to recover your players, how to make them recover from the games, not recovery from injury, recovery from games. Right? Meaning, okay, you play a game on Sunday, you have another game on Wednesday. So, how do you manage that player between Monday and Tuesday, right? You play him on Sunday. Monday, obviously, he rests. He just does gym work and massages and shit like that. On Tuesday, a little bit of running, nothing crazy. And then on Wednesday, he's going to play again. So that period between games, you have to be very good at managing the players. Yeah, you have to be very. I mean, you need a PhD. These are people that have PhDs. They're experts in this field on how to make muscles recover. I think it's got to do with that, but I am not sure about it. I do not know because you have to be there to really understand exactly what's going on. You have to understand. You have to be there to understand what's going on. So, um, with Rebic, it looks like it's injuries all over the place. One time it's injury here, one time it's injury there. Interesting, but who's responsible for recoveries in that schedule? Just physio or coach? Well, the coach has a staff with him, and the staff, like he has his physiotherapist, he has his trainers, he has his athletics trainers, he has his tactical trainers. As far as the lab, as far as the Milan has its own laboratory, so they have their own medics, etc. So probably it is that, but usually the coaches have their own staffs. They have their own staffs. I don't know if it is Pioli's staff or if it is a staff that is always there. I think it's a combination of both. But I can't think of him not being. I mean, these are things that you learn at Coverciano, you learn at at coaching school. So it's all of these coaches get the same training, right? The same training that Spalletti had at Coverciano. Inzaghi had a Coverciano, Conte had a Coverciano, Allegri had a Coverciano. All of the coaches that coach in Italy all went through Coverciano. The Coverciano showed them and taught them how to do it, and they saw it when they were players. You learn it, of course, but Coverciano is there to show you how to do these things. So I don't know if if he's doing something different from the other coaches, or if it's the staff, or the methodology of it is different. I don't know if it's his own staff or if it is the club staff, because some coaches have a huge staff that follows them around. Most times when you hire a coach, you're not just hiring a coach, you're hiring 10, 15 people that come with that coach. So you're not just hiring a coach, you're hiring, other people too. But I don't know what Pioli's situation was with the staff. I don't know if Milan already had a staff with him, or if he had his own staff. I don't know. I know he had some of those trainers are definitely part of his own staff that he has had around him in his different teams. Other ones have to be there from Milan. Of course, Bonera has to be there as a Milan coach. Maybe some of the trainers are there from Milan, and some of the physios also there. I just don't have the information. I don't have that information. It's good information to have. I definitely should look into it and check it out to see what it is. But that is just a guess. It is just my guess that it is in that process right there. It could be in the preseason. In the preseason, the players maybe are worked too hard. That is a possibility. I did follow Milan's preseason, and I thought that they did not work that hard. I thought it was a pretty good balance. For example, Juventus worked really hard. Juventus worked really hard during the preseason, and they paid for it because that Juve team has been also plagued with injuries. I did not see Milan working so hard during the preseason. I thought their preseason trainings were, mid-level intensity. At least the videos that we saw. But I don't think that's the issue. I don't think that's the issue. Because I don't think that's the issue. Could it be just bad luck? Maybe it is. Maybe it is just bad luck. Maybe it is. I mean, the Magnan. So we can go player by player, right? Magnan, he had this injury. So the Magnan is mismanagement, not by Milan though, but by the French national team, because he had an injury with Milan. Milan sent him, then he was called for the national team because of the World Cup. He was part of that squad. And this was, I think, during the Nations Leagues. I think it was Nations League. So he went to the national team, and apparently Milan asked the French national team, he asked that French national team to set some parameters on his workload, and it looks like France did not respect these parameters. And then this kind of caused another injury on Magnan. And then he had an operation, but then the scar of that operation is not healing. So essentially, that's why he's not playing, because the scar of the operation is not healing properly. That is very strange. That is very strange. Very strange. At least that is the information we have. Balotelli, that is one of the casualties of war. He got a dislocated shoulder during the game. That was just a casualty. Krunic is a muscle injury, so that can be what we spoke about earlier, either preparation or recovery between games. Muscle injuries can be either casualties or mismanagement. You don't know. That's something that you just don't know. Rebic, muscle injuries. I think Rebic kind of reminds me more of the players that I had when I was coaching that had recurring injuries. There are certain players that always had something. They always had a recurring injury, and it was always muscle injuries. So Rebic kind of reminds me of that. But I don't know what's going on with Rebic either. It could be mismanagement or just he's prone to muscle injuries. Origi, came to Milan injured, so he has been injured ever since he's joined Milan, and I think with Origi, he's not been given the enough time to fully recover. The thing is that we don't have the time to give him. It looks like Pioli doesn't have the time to give him to recover, because I think maybe Origi needs to take a half a year off and just completely heal and come back to play football, because he came here injured, and he plays for 2 weeks and then he's injured again. He plays for 2 weeks and it's muscle fatigues. This is the nature of his injuries. So it feels like whatever injury he had when he joined Milan, he needs much more time to just heal and just fully recover. He probably should not be playing football right now. He probably should not be playing. He probably should be working on his recovery. I don't know, but that's a speculation. Yeah, don't think. I'm not 100% sure about that. Kjaer, he comes from a really bad injury, so obviously, he has to readapt to the workloads. That takes time. I'm new here, so sorry if I asked some questions you already answered. What do you think about Origi? I want to give him time, but I'm not really optimistic. Origi as a player, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not convinced that. I mean, I think Origi is good for offensive depth, right? He's good as a player to have on the bench behind Giroud and Ibra. Let's say if I have Ibra, Giroud, and Origi, I'm pretty happy with those three strikers right there. I have a really good striker in Ibra, but again, Ibra, you have to manage his injuries, his body. I have a very good striker in Giroud, and I have a good striker in Origi. I put him third. In the hierarchy, I put him third. So it's not a bad offensive trio to have if you play with only one center forward. It's decent, but I don't consider him a second, neither a first in this scenario. Could he ever be one? Maybe. I think he's a really good striker to have as far as depth goes. He's a very good striker to have. But as far as my first team, if I wanted to choose a first team, he probably would not be in my first team. But I'd be very happy as a coach to have him ready on the bench, because I wouldn't be losing much quality when I bring him in. Do you remember that famous Milan physio? I keep forgetting his name. No, I'm not. I don't. I don't remember his. Yeah, Milan has to deal with all these injuries. They have to deal with all these injuries, and that's just a bummer. Yeah, I mean, if I have a player that I can put in from the last 20 minutes that is going to give me intensity and also quality, he's a great player. He's a great player for that purpose. And then, of course, I can use him as a first player in certain games. One thing that Pioli did, which I really liked, was how he rotated Origi and Giroud during the Champions League games. Even though we did not get good results in Serie A, but the Champions League games rotation definitely worked, because Giroud was nice and fresh, and we won both those games 4-0 the last two games. So, it depends how you rotate. But yeah, last 20 minutes of the game, Giroud is a good player to have as an option. And let's say you want the result. You can even add him, 30 minutes in, or 30 minutes to the end, 40 minutes in. If you're chasing a result, you can add him as an extra striker. He took out the only players who are good in possession: Bennacer, Giroud, Diaz, and Salamakers, and he misused CDK, who was also great at moving the ball. Instead, he just put him as a lone arrowhead, which incentivized Roma to do total pressing because he's slow and can't carry the counterattack by himself, and he can't even receive long passes. So we ended up being squashed in our own half, unable to keep a ball, which made CDK up front completely isolated and useless. Whereas he would have been much more functional as a midfielder, and obviously all of this shook the players mentally, which is why we conceded those ridiculous goals. Well, I mean, Pioli's options yesterday was either to not make any substitutions and keep the team essentially the way it was till the end, or use the players that he had. I don't know if you were here earlier. I did an analysis of the team. If you look at the screen, essentially all the red players are players that are available to play with the first team, and all the other players are players that are still not first team. They're not considered depth. So Pioli had all of these red players missing. So whatever substitutions Pioli was going to make, we were going to lose quality. That was a given. There was, that was something that I was even saying before the game started. Pioli, in the long stretch, the team couldn't have been the same. He would have had to deteriorate the tactical integrity of the team. So, yeah. What are you gonna do? In hindsight, guys, we're all geniuses. Yeah. Let's be clear about this. In hindsight, we're all geniuses, including the coaches that are coaching at the highest level. Everyone talks about us needing a new right wing, which is completely true, but we just as much as also need a new striker. Giroud is basically by himself now. I agree, we need a striker rather than a right winger. We created more chances than Napoli this season, but didn't score as many as Napoli. The positions that need to be covered is obviously the striker position, because right now we only have two strikers, but the reason why we only have two strikers is because Ibra is not available. But also you have to consider the fact when Ibra does come back, how many games can he play till he gets another injury? Who knows? Right now we only have two center forwards. You can consider Rebic a third center forward, but he's not a natural center forward. We have Origi and Giroud right now. So if one is injured and Rebic is not there, Ibra is not there, the only other center forward we have is Lazetic. So yeah, obviously the position that we need right now to cover is the striker. Yeah. What other positions would I bring in to the team? In the market, I would bring in another midfielder, quality midfielder like Arar, some player like that. On the right wing, if I have the ability, I probably swap Messias with a very talented, skillful right winger, Bakayoko. Striker, yeah, we need to get a new striker. Left wing, I don't know how long Rebic is going to be there, but I would start to think about the next replacement for Rebic. Attacking midfield, I would try to do my best to keep Diaz. I think CDK is going to come good eventually. We just have to be patient with him. Midfield, Bennacer is not enough. We need another guy. We need another one that is just as good as them. Pobega is really close, but still we need another one. Pobega and Krunic are good for depth, but we need another one to replace Kessie. And Anguissa would have been nice. I'm really optimistic with Vranks. His potential is really good. Vranks is maybe Vranks. He's showing some good stuff. Obviously, he was blamed yesterday because a lot of those actions that preceded to the goal started from maybe his mistakes. So yesterday, maybe he showed some ingenuities. He showed some inexperience with how he managed certain moments of the game that did not directly lead to the goals, but the actions he made preceded the goals. I don't know about Ranks. I like what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a player that has a good combination of quantity and quality. You know, he's an under 21 still, so he's still a lot to be discovered from him. He's only 19, I believe. So we still have a lot of ranks to see and to discover. If Milan is going to buy him, then it's because they believe he's going to turn out to be a really good player. Yeah, we can't count on Ibra 11, but he's 42. We will be lucky if he give us 10 games, 30 minutes each game. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, just don't know. That's what you would expect because that's been his story so far. Comes in, plays 4 games, and then he's done. If Pioli manages him and plays him, actually, guys, um, if Pioli is smart and Pioli can use Ibra the last 20 minutes of the games, that's a good sub to bring in. If Ibra is still Ibra, we've got to find out if Ibra is still Ibra because we don't know if Ibra is still Ibra, if he can still play at those levels. I mean, it takes a long time to get back to rhythm. I don't know if he's going to play, but let's assume Ibra is still Ibra. If Pioli has a resource like that to bring out of the bench, that's good for him. He's going to have a very good solution there. What happened with Angelo Gabriel? Wasn't he going to sign him, or was it a typical low ball move from Red Bull? The last I heard about Angelo Gabriel is that there are other teams that are on him, so it's going to be difficult for Milan to get him. But not impossible, just difficult. There are other teams that are interested in him. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Most importantly in the talk, good center back and a quality right wing. After that, we can find a key replacement in a striker. The center back, I mean, if we want to talk about the immediate, like today, right now, maybe you can make that argument. If we have Kjaer, Tomori, and Kalulu, I'd feel pretty confident. Obviously, right now, Kjaer is a little bit of a question mark. I mean, yeah, in a perfect world, in a perfect transfer market world, bringing in a more experienced defender that is good with set pieces, with headers, and defending with header, yeah, that would be obviously convenient for sure. There's no doubt about that. In the current situation with the market, if I only have a limited amount of funds, I wouldn't spend it on a defender. I would spend it more on an offensive player. I would spend it on either a right wing or striker. Also, you say Chow might not fit in Pioli's hierarchies, but the guy could jump and land on Gabi's head if he wanted to, and we know for a fact that when we brought him against Verona, he managed to save us twice in 10 minutes, both times with set pieces, by the way, if I remember correctly. Yes, this is something that in hindsight, you can see that could have been a mistake. That could have been a mistake, bringing in Gabi instead of Chow. That definitely could have been a mistake in hindsight. But the hierarchy discussion just kind of not justifies, but just explains why Pioli would choose Gabi instead of, right. If Kjaer was available, he wouldn't bring in neither Gabi or Cha. He would have put in Kjaer. Yeah, in hindsight, you can think that Cha would have been better at dealing the situations in which we got scored on. So, yeah. And I'm not here trying to excuse Pioli, etc., etc. I've criticized Pioli a lot in some occasions with his approach in certain games. This game here, I don't blame him so much based on the options he had on the bench. The only thing I can say is that if he wanted to keep the game consistent, he probably shouldn't have made so many changes. I don't know. But that becomes taxing on the players, especially towards the end, because if you're winning the last 7 minutes, last 10 minutes, the team you're playing against is obviously going to push forward. Obviously, they're going to be more aggressive. Obviously, more offensive players are going to come in. So if you have players that have been defending and been working their ass off for 80 minutes, uh, yeah, it's hard, guys. In hindsight, everybody is a genius, guys. Everybody's a genius in hindsight, and everybody thinks that if you're there on the spot, you're going to make the right decisions. Like everybody has this notion, including me. Everybody, you have this idea that if you're right there and you're playing the game, if I was there, I would have done this, I would have done that, and it would have been right. You know, I do that too. I say that, but I say that knowing that when you're in the moment, it's not as simple. It's not as simple. It's not as simple because I've been in Pioli's situation as well, where I read, I know my players, I read the game, and I make decisions, and then people complain at me. I've been in that situation. I don't blame Pioli ever. The referee was weird this game. Roma fouls Pobega, gets a yellow, I think, and they give a free kick. And of course, a penalty he was robbed from with the handball. Okay, so the Pobega thing, I agree. It looked strange that Pobega got a yellow card for that. First of all, like, why are you getting a yellow card for that? And why is he getting a foul? Like, well, I mean, that was a strange call. The penalty, I thought that shouldn't have been a penalty. I don't agree with the penalty, but okay, this is up to interpretation. If I think the hand was close to the body, if my defender um, gets a handball like that, I wouldn't want a penalty to be called on me. So I think that if a hand is extended, that is a penalty. Those are the rules. But if the hand is on the body, then I don't think it's a penalty. Um, ho capito. È fatto. The problem is that there's no other palleggiatori. So if you yeah, you can say that he shouldn't have made any other choice, any subs, right? That's the thing that you can say. He shouldn't have made any subs. He should have just kept did the Pobega sub, and that's it, and stopped right there. But anybody else from Pobega onwards wouldn't would have decreased the quality of the team. Um, should he have taken out Bennacer? Should he have taken out? I mean, he's taken out Bennacer before and he's put in ranks in, and that has worked, right? Bennacer wasn't a yellow card. If he gets another yellow card, it's a red card. We're already missing Tonali, right? He risked Tonali till the end because we already know Tonali's missing the next game, so he might as well risk Tonali. I agree with the Diaz substitution. Actually, that's the thing that I said. Not any, at least keep one between Bennacer and Salamix. And actually, Salamix I would have kept till the end. I would have kept Salamix till the end. Bennacer, I would have probably waited for Diaz to come out. But yeah, essentially, you take out Diaz, you take out Bennacer. That's your midfield playmakers. You're taking out your playmakers, so of course, the quality of your game goes down. Yeah. You can't blame him 100%. Pobega scored second goal and Rank stole the ball to give to Leao. But yeah, okay, there you go. You see, like that's the other thing. Like those subs up until that the Pobega scored worked, right? They worked. All those up until the Pobega second goal, Pioli was a genius. Then those set pieces happened. But is it really Pioli's fault, or is the players' inexperience on the pitch on how to manage moments? And also the goalkeeper. I think you need to watch again. The first defender's hand wasn't a handball, but it deflected on another player, and that wasn't close to his body. We can check it. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. What's up, Rock? How you doing, man? Let's see. Milan, Roma. Okay, so I gotta do this in a clever way, not to get blocked. But I know how to do it. I know how to avoid getting blocked. Okay, let's look at that situation. Let's look at these situations. Give me 1 second. Let me find it first. It happened before the second goal. Let's see if I can find it. If I even want to show it. It was in the second half for sure. They're not even showing it here. I know it ricocheted between two players, and I think both players touched it with their hand. I mean, look, listen. I've seen penalties been given for unbelievable reasons. So if it would have given us the penalty, then sure. At the time, looking at that action, I didn't think it was a penalty based on the rules, but I definitely wouldn't have been complaining if we got it if we got in a penalty. You know, but whatever. I mean, a lot of those situations are up to interpretation. Up to interpretation. Let's see if the action that led to the goal, and then I'll share that. No. Well, actually, let's analyze the marking in the area. Let's do that. As soon as Calabria sat back, stopped overlapping, stopped penetrating through the middle, that forced Bennacer and Tonali to stay back and play 45 meters from goal. When none of our midfielders can get forward, we cannot create numerical advantage in that final third. Yeah. Yes. 70th minute. Okay, I'd have to go to the game itself. Yeah, definitely. That was the approach in the second half, Rock. It was a strange approach. Okay, let me share this, and let's look at the markings, and let's do a little bit of this. Let's look at these markings here, and let's see what we can find out. Because one of the things that we're always complaining, right, and one of the things that we're rightfully so complaining about is usually the marking in the set pieces. So let's analyze that. Okay. Speed, we're bringing it down to 125. Let's bring it up to 150. Okay, so this is the first goal, which, oh, this is going faster. So we have to go up. 0.5, yeah, of course. Okay, so let's look at this one more time. This is how you do it. Okay, so I believe it's number 5 that scores, right? Number 5 is the one that scores. Let's look at this again. Okay, so number 5, that is that Calabria? I think that's Calabria, right? This is Theo. That's Tomori. Kalulu, Tomori. Don't know who this is. I think that's Calabria. So number 5. Let's look at number 5. Where's the number 8? Let's see who scores. Oh, no. Number 5. Okay. So number 5, Calabria is following number 5. So the guy that, let's see who scores. I can't remember who scores. Okay, number 8 scores. So let's see what happened with number 8. Matic. Okay. So number 8 is here. Well, nobody's marking him. This guy's alone. Oh Jesus. Well, that's the first mistake right there. Nobody is marking him. So I guess Tonali should be on this player. Why is I mean, this shouldn't even just be Tonali saying, "Hey, I should mark him." Well, Tonali is looking at these two players here. Obviously, he's taking care of these two players here. So that is CDK over here, I believe. No, this is CDK. So there's an extra player here. Where's the extra player? So we got Leao, we got Milan. So we got 5 here in this line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, these two are being marked. Okay, so Leao is marking the extra player is Leao marking this area right here, and Tonali marking these two players right here. So, someone is not doing their homework. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Man, this is actually interesting because we have an extra player on the field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have an extra player on the field that at the 92nd minute should be here. Should not be here. Who is that extra player? 1, 2, 3. Or maybe he is there. Is that him right there? Oh, yeah. Everybody's here. Okay, everybody's in the box. Okay, fine. Thank God. I was about to get a heart attack. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so all of Milan is here. Okay, so this is the player here. That's the player that. Okay, so CDK, and this is not CDK's fault. This has got nothing to do with CDK, but CDK here is pretty much marking his space rather than marking the player. Well, Roma, number 8, is not being marked by anybody, and he is sneaking. He is sneaking behind. Look at that. You see, he's hiding behind this guy. He is not being marked. He is sneaking behind everybody, while everybody else has a player in the box. Roma has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 players. Tonali is correct for to have a player here looking to intercept one of these two guys. It is correct to have this guy. It is correct to have Leao here. That is a tactical mistake right there. CDK. And not CDK the player. This is a mistake that either you do in the tactical meeting boards when you choose when you organize how to defend the corners, or it can be a mistake of the whole team because the whole team could be organized in their corner here, and they're not putting a man on this guy. They're willingly leaving him free. And it is the guy that is free in the box that scores a goal. 68 is being looked at by Theo Hernandez. So number 8, look at him. He's free. Nobody's marking him. Tonali here. Tonali should have probably followed him, but Tonali is looking at these guys here. His job is to look at these guys here. Who is marking him right there? Okay, so this guy's marking both players. So yeah, CDK is not marking him. So there's a free player here. We found a rat. There's a free rat in the box that is not being looked at, and he is the one that scores the goal right there. You see, everybody is marking a player, everybody's marking a space, minus the guy that scores the ball. And it's not CDK's fault, it's how they organize this. Interesting, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And let's look at the other goal. Okay, this is the other goal. So this is the corner kick. 86th minute. Let's see who scores. Number 3 scores. Okay. Ooh. That's just them getting beat. That's them just getting beat right there. Okay, so Tonali is on. Okay, so number 3 is coming from outside the box, so he's starting from outside the box. He's not in the box. That's him right here. He's coming in right here. He's coming in. This moment right here when the corner is about to be taken, Tonali decides to go number 3. Let's see how he follows him. Number 3 evades him right there. He keeps on going. Number 3 has taken Tonali out. The ball is coming through. And you have Tomori, you have Kalulu, you have Gabbia right there. So you have the 3 central defenders defending that space. Tomori makes a jump. Tonali got caught here. Tonali should have done a better job at defending him. Tonali should have not given him this channel right here. Right there. Boom. That's a moment Tonali loses him. At that moment, he has a free jump. If Tonali was still in front of him, obviously the jump would be dirty. Rather, he gave him the opportunity to have a clean jump. Boom. Yeah, that's maybe you can say that's Tonali's fault. No, I'm not blaming CDK. I'm blaming how they organized the defense, the markings. So when you organize the markings, that's whoever makes those decisions. Whoever was in charge of organizing the markings in that current moment made the mistake to leave number 8 free. And CDK wasn't marking anybody there. Like, there's no point in having CDK there, really. That's a strange decision to make. Like, he's just... You already have a player marking the first post, which was Leao. CDK was in between the first post and the center. And there was an extra player that... So, that second goal, I wouldn't blame CDK. I would just blame whoever organized the markings. Here... I think Tonali should have done a better job at not letting this guy go through. And then the ball, everybody gets beat here. All the defenders get. That's probably where you want Chow, right? That's probably where you want Chow to win these balls, because that's what Chow is good at. He's taller than everybody else in the team. Yeah. Sucks. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? No. If you know how to, if you do it like this, the way I did it, I slow it down, and I'm just doing bit by bit. They won't take it down. But if you play the whole video, they're going to take it down. Yeah, it is unfortunate. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah, here you want someone in front of him, because if you have someone in front of him here, he's not jump. His jump is not as clean. The art of defense is about subtleties. It's about subtleties. It's not so cut and dry. The art of defense is about subtleties. It's kind of like baseball. It's a lot of things that you don't really see on camera, and you don't really even consider. But just for example, dirtying the jump of a player can set him off just a little bit out of balance. Even if it's just a little centimeter out of balance, that can completely change the outcome of the action. Here, he's got a free jump. Like, it's a clean jump. It's essentially a clean jump. As he's jumping, nobody is touching him. Nobody is on him. Tomori here, if he was a little bit taller, he would have got it, right? And that's the thing. Like, yeah, whatever. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? This is just waffle to rewatch. Tomori jumps at completely the wrong time. He got cooked. Yeah, this guy's need to look at 1,000 clips of Chiellini and Barzagli destabilizing opponents, jump without looking like a. Yeah, that is the art of defense right there. That is exactly the art of defense. It's not even like what you do with a ball. It's how you manipulate the body of your opponent. How can you slightly put him off balance? It's the terms in Italian, è pulito e sporco, right? Dirty and clean. If he has a clean jump, or then he has more control of what he's going to do with the ball. But if he has a dirty jump, then he has less control. So these little subtleties that can change everything. Head down and work hard. Season is not even at half. There's a lot of, oh yeah, for sure. 100%. 100%. Although we might need to buy the referees. Okay. We need Magnan back as well as soon as possible, guys. When the F is he back? We cannot keep using Tata. Enough of this. Man, we miss Magnan a lot. We miss Magnan a lot. There is absolutely no doubt about that. It hurts not having Magnan. Definitely hurts not having Magnan. Definitely hurts not having Magnan. Let's look at our goals. Let's look at the positives. Who scored first? I can't remember. Who scored first goal? Oh, Kalulu. Let's see Kalulu's goal. Okay, so Kalulu's here, number 20. Let's see what he does. Gets out. You see how the Roma defenders, all of them are on a player, but Kalulu, whatever he does, he gets out. See, Dybala is on Bennacer. 59 is on Salamakers. 25 is on Tomori. 15 is on 9. 22 is on 19. This guy is on Kalulu. This guy is on Leao. This guy is on Brahim Diaz. And then you have the two extra guys here. So all the players are being marked. But what does Kalulu do? Let's see what he does. Nice. Good movement by Kalulu. Nice. He sneaks behind him, gets in front of him. That's nice movement. Good job. 500K. That's how much we paid this guy. 500K. Legenda. Look at him go. Sneak behind, gets in front. Ball goes boom. Inzaghi. It's like an Inzaghi goal. That's clever. That's a difficult goal to score. Difficult to dive forward and then direct the ball to your side like that. Maybe the goalkeeper should have done better. It did bounce on his hand. I think if that was Magnan and we got scored on like this, we'd be saying, yo, Manya, what the hell are you doing? If it was Tatarusano, we would be like, yeah, that's Tatarusano. That's Rui Patricio. That's a Portuguese national team player. So Kalulu gets behind them, then gets in front of them. That's very clever. Nice. Good job. Bravo, Kalulu. Bravo. Okay, let's look at this other goal. I know you want to like this, but Pobega would have missed miserably if it wasn't for that deflection. Which deflection are you talking about? Oh yeah, absolutely. Are you talking about the first play, the second goal? Whether or not there was a deflection or not, number 8 wasn't being marked. Or are you talking about this first goal? Which goal are you talking about? I don't know which goal you're talking about. I think this is the action that leads to the second play. So we got Diaz to Vranks. Vranks sets up Leao. Good progressive passing. Leao cuts in. Finds Pobega. What a great play from Giroud. Look at Giroud's movement. Look at how Giroud creates the space for Pobega. That's a striker's movement right there. He gets in front of Smalling, therefore taking Smalling away. And Giroud right here. I mean, Pobega right there. Boom. Very clever from Giroud. Yeah, it was great up until then. Everything was perfect up until then. Here's the goal. The second goal Pobega scored. Wait, what? I know you won't like the story, but Pobega would have missed miserably if it wasn't for that deflection. Which deflection are you talking about? I still don't know what you're talking about. This was a good team play. There was a deflection that happened somewhere here. And yeah, Diaz, man. I'm really liking how Diaz is playing. Yeah, Vranks got a little bit of that. Salamaker's running forward. Giroud cutting in. Overlap here. Oh, you're talking about the deflection on Smalling? Smalling had a deflection over on Smalling? Is that what you're saying? Well, whatever. That doesn't matter. So what? That does not diminish anything. That's you being nitpicky. What are you? Do you have an issue with Pobega? That's just being nitpicky. Like, so what? He had a small deflection. The important thing that he was there and he directed the ball in the right spot with the right amount of energy, and that's what is important. Why are you being nitpicky, Mr. Cole? No, I'm not pissed off. I'm not pissed off, guys. I'm not angry. I'm not angry at yesterday's result. I'm disappointed, but I'm not angry. It pisses me off too. Yeah, no, I'm very happy with Pobega. I really like this player. I really like what Pobega is developing into. I think he's going to be very useful to this team. Very, very, very useful. Yeah. Well, there you go. Milan Roma 2-2. Let's just hope we get our players back. Let's see what happens with this Mercato. Bennacer getting renewed. Leao getting renewed. Giroud. We need our injured players back in the squad. All right, guys. Having said that, I have to close. Thank you everybody for joining me today. Oh, actually, let's just talk about this a little bit. Napoli will choke it after being winter Scudetto like us. Will win the Scudetto. Trust the process. Forza Milan. That's a good attitude to have. That's a good attitude to have. So I have nothing to say about that. He'll be a great third choice. I mean, it's great for depth to have Pobega, right? Remember Ambrosini. Ambrosini was never a first team player, but for a long time he was the third choice. For a long time he was uh, a bench player, a depth player. But then at a certain point, because of his qualities, Milan Ancelotti took out a striker in order to put an extra midfielder, and that extra midfielder was Ambrosini. And there's some similarities between Ambrosini and Pobega. Right now, Pobega is definitely a very good, third choice to have, a very good bench player to have on the bench. And if you need, you can also play him since the beginning. I definitely believe in this young AC Milan. I believe in the project. I love this project. I think it's a fantastic project. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, we do have a game coming up on Wednesday. We'll definitely do the watch along and post match for that. We might do a pre stream for that tomorrow. Having said that, guys, thank you everybody for joining us today. Please like, subscribe, do all those good things. Make sure you do that on your way out. And we will see you next time. Forza Milan, arrivederci, ciao.